Going to call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Palumbi?
Here.
Councilmember Grapes?
Here.
Councilmember Saper?
Here.
Councilmember Tull?
Here.
Councilmember Smith?
Here.
Councilmember Clevenger?
Present.
Councilmember Roberts?
Here.
Councilmember Clevenger? Clark. I'm sorry.
Here.
We're married.
I just saw the C and it just came out.
All right, the next item will be the
look
Pledge of
alike.
Allegiance that tonight will be led by our Boy Scouts. There we go. All right. All right, thank you. Troop 354. 354, thank you. Next up, I am going to pull items 11 and 13 are being removed at the request of the developer, and item number 22 is being removed at the request of the city councilor. 11, 13, 22. And let me validate that there. 11, 13, 22, that's correct. All right. Councilmember Saper.
I'd like to pull an item from the consent agenda, number 10.
Perfect. Number 10 will be removed, and the first item discussed on the regular agenda. Is there a motion to approve the amended agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, please say yes.
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 Opposed? No. Motion carries. That leads us to comments from the public.
Richard Sheets, 1002 East 24th Avenue. I do want to make another comment about the redistricting. I know we just went through all of that. To Councilwoman Tull's point about modifying C would have been gerrymandering, just like, we originally wanted to change the original one because it didn't include somebody, and then the modified did. So wouldn't both of those be considered gerrymandering? I think they should both be thrown out and just choose E, but I know we're all past that. I think that Jesse and Lisa bringing that back up just is really unbecoming of a council person, and all it did was impede the process. Second thing, I planned on talking about the apartments tonight. I don't think we need to move forward with 23rd and Swift. I think that incentivizing somebody to come down here and build, maybe in 1999 would have been something that was necessary, but it totally isn't now. We could buy back that property, sell it to somebody, and let them completely develop it. I don't think we need any more apartments down here. We're just going to be packing residents into North Kansas City for what, a grocery store that we're already getting. So what's the point? We want to support retail businesses down here. I work in global industrial distribution. I have plenty of giant retail businesses that I serve. They're all moving to e-commerce platforms. Regular retail is dead. So I don't know if you guys are wanting to put a Walmart down here or what the deal is. These millennials that move into these apartment complexes, they come in, they want to go to bars, restaurants, dog parks, and then go home. They're not going to walk up here and buy clothes or anything like that. So before this gets passed, because I feel like it's going to, I want to see a clear vision and a plan. What is the purpose of bringing all these residents down here? It's for businesses. What businesses? Let's just be clear about what our goals are rather than just, we need more residents for the sake of more residents. That's all I've got tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, public comment, please.
Dave Wood, 2414 Erie Street. I'm going to say some things tonight that'll probably make you uncomfortable, and they make me uncomfortable having to say them. And this isn't so much about apartments, although I'm going to touch on that too. It's more about selfishness, if you will. I'm going to start you off with paraphrasing a quote from Oscar Wilde. He said, "Selfishness is not living as you wish to live. Selfishness is asking others to live as you wish to live." Some of you say you love this city, but it seems like you're selfishly trying everything you can to change it into some sort of stereotypical, city, some vision of what you and or your friends or somebody else is saying, this is what your city should look like. Some people will say, well, we love our city, but it can be better. Better than what? I mean, I've heard some of you, and I've done it myself. We tell people, look, we got a unique little town here. We'll cite that we have, this small socially and economically diverse population. We've got a quirky mix of residential and businesses. We've got a weird mix of retail and small manufacturing. We have our own water supply, and you name it, it goes on and on and on. Why do we want to change this city into some cookie-cutter version of what somebody else thinks it should be? These faceless others that we talk about. One reason we hear sometimes, well, other cities are doing it. So, why do we have to be like other cities? We're not like other cities. Why do we aspire to be like other cities? Another reason I hear sometimes is, well, the American Planning Association recommends it. Again, so what? Why do we have to follow the playbook of what is essentially it's an academic think tank of activists, and they preach conformity? But why should we conform? Academic, by the way, used in this way means not of practical relevance or more only of theoretical interest. So I fail to understand why we're trying so hard to follow that plan. The mantra used to be, and Richard mentioned this, the mantra used to be, we got to have more people, we got to have apartments, we got to get a grocery store. Well, we're getting one at 1 North, along with more apartments, and it's my understanding the builder pretty much had to be browbeat into doing the grocery store in order to get the apartments built. I feel for that grocery store. I don't think it's going to be much of a success, number one, where it's located. Number two, it's not Trader Joe's. So the people that have been clamoring for a grocery store are not going to be happy. My wife is not happy that it's not a Trader Joe's. Some people say we need more apartments to attract more business. We've done pretty darn good, this town has, without having all of these apartments, because mostly we are a little unique, right? We have a different aura about it. The businesses will tell you it's the 20 to 30,000 people that influx here every day that really help draw them and sustain them. It's not the 5,000 people that live here. And it's not going to be the 6,000 or 7,000 people that live here either. It's still going to be that influx of the 20, 30,000 people that come through here every day. So why we are so obsessed with increasing the population is beyond me. We talk about more affordable housing. Everybody talks about more affordable housing. Where is it in all of these projects, right? We're told these apartments will probably be market rate. Some will be more than market rate. Market rate, and the landlords will tell you, market rate, that's just landlord jargon, property owner jargon for we're going to charge as much as we can based on what everybody else is charging. So market rate is not affordable housing. A lot of people can't afford market rate housing. It used to be that the older houses down here and some of the bigger houses that were carved up into 2, 3, 5 different little apartments, those used to fill that niche of the low-income housing. But even those, the rent's rising on those. And even now, there's one down the street from me, it's being completely renovated. Guess what their goal is? They're going to charge higher rent. So there you go. That is getting taken away from us as well. The landlords, if they're being honest with us and with themselves, they're going to benefit from all of these apartments and all of this influx of people because the rents are going to go up. All of their properties, they're going to be able to charge more rent. I mean, they're going to benefit from it. What we're really doing is called gentrification. And just so everybody knows the definition of that, it's the process whereby the character of an urban area is changed based on wealthier people moving in, improving the housing, and guess what? Typically displacing current inhabitants in the process. It's called gentrification. We keep hearing about this inclusion and equity. We even have our own brand new committee for that. How is forcing people out because of rising rents, how is that equitable and inclusive? Further, I'm not against adding housing. I mean, the 1 North is a perfect example. You were creating a neighborhood where one didn't exist. What I am against is shoving these apartments into existing neighborhoods just because we can. We never stop and ask ourselves, just because we can, should we? I mean, why aren't we going south of Armour Road and looking to create some more neighborhoods where none exist? That would be more equitable if you want to use that word. There's no need for conversation, philosophical or otherwise, that these apartments are going to change the character of our city and our neighborhoods. They will. There's no discussion. They will change the character. I want to know why. I mean, because in my opinion, the character is going to change, not for the better. I'm not against renters. I'm not against change. Sometimes we make a change and, we can realize we did it wrong and we can go back and fix it. But I'm telling you, a 290 unit plus apartment building, that's permanent. There's no going back. We get this wrong, we're going to suffer from that for years. And how many more apartments are coming? We don't know. That's just going to further add to the gentrification. It's going to further dilute the uniqueness of our town. We're going to be that cookie cutter again. I'm for change that makes sense. I've said it before. I don't understand this obsession with increasing the population. I mean, sometimes you guys, you act as a council, you act like, the voters handed you a mandate. We didn't. We didn't hand you a mandate. I mean, Mr. Mayor, you won by one vote. That's not a mandate, right? Some of you take to Facebook where you can put out there what we're doing and everybody says, oh, look at you, you're doing great. That's not real. I mean, you take that as the will of the people or the voice of the people. That's not real. A lot of those people on that Facebook page don't even live here. So you can't take that as gospel. You're creating a monster here, and you know what? I don't know monster movies you watch, but every monster movie I watch, the monster always comes back after the creator. And we're creating a monster here. Jesse mentioned in a post that he's worried about the city's reputation, and rightly so. I'm worried about your reputation. I mean, you're fast becoming, you're getting this reputation of an activist body, and you're not really listening. You're just doing what you want to do, right? You're doing whatever the plan is, right? The mayor mentions this vision. We've yet to see the vision. Roll out this vision. Let us see it. Let us, as we the people, let us see this vision so we can decide if we want to support it or not. So, at the very least, you could pause some of these very expensive, very permanent projects and reassess. I mean, talk to the people that live here, not just the people in your ward. You're all fond of saying we're all one city. You could do a town hall in your ward, right? Do a town hall. Talk to the folks. Ask us, what is it you really think? Quit depending on surveys. Surveys are ridiculous. You can modify a survey. You can make a survey say anything you want it to say. Definitely don't do a survey on Facebook. So I'm asking you, don't ruin our city by following some academic, activist, or prefabricated vision of what a community that conforms looks like. Talk to the people that live here. Show us if gentrification really is your plan, then be honest and tell us that's what it is. Show us the plan, show us your vision, so that we can at least know and understand, and we can tell you whether we like that plan or not. I'll leave you with this. If you insist on following this path, when the you-know-what hits the fan, and it probably will, by the time somebody like me gets up here and tells you, I told you so, it's too late. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, public comment, please. All right.
Good evening.
Good
I have
evening.
my lighter. Whoops. How's it going? Good evening.
Fantastic. Name and address real quick for the...
I'll get there.
Oh,
My
I'm
name's
sorry.
Lauren.
Sorry.
My name's Lauren. Lauren Wells. I live at 22nd and Knox. This is my beautiful imagery for the evening. Earlier this week, I was driving in front of the library, and I saw what looked to be a hospital patient that might have left against medical advice as he was still in a hospital gown, hospital pants, hospital slippers, etc. It was a cold and rainy day. I immediately called NKC PD, as this person was now on the North Kansas City High School property, walking kind of towards the doors. And I was concerned, it's kind of alarming. They informed me that they just released him and that he was no threat to the community. I'm here tonight to ask that we do not release people from our jail and into our residential neighborhood with both an elementary school, which my son attends, and a high school in hospital gowns or other improper clothing for weather conditions that might humiliate the person or get them into more trouble. I mean, I was kind of concerned that this guy might be a threat to the community, to be honest with you. And he wasn't. He was very nice, very sweet, very nice fella. I mean, even the police told me that he was no threat, which I was able to approach him, and I had clothes in my trunk. I dressed the fella, but I mean, I don't always have clothes in my trunk to dress people who don't have them. I'm here tonight to ask that we maybe create a budget for these situations, maybe $500 or so we can have kind of an array of clothing or something set aside in the event that this happens again, that we can take care of the person. Whether they've been in jail or not is irrelevant to the fact that they're entering our residential community, you know? I'm going to skip this part. I'll skip that part, just out of good faith. No, I'm not. Okay. We have a budget for $88,000 for police dispatch office furniture. So surely we can help people like this enter the street in a better, more suitable fashion, you know, for the kids, at minimum, for the kids, you know. Second, there are several homeowners concerned about their properties being negatively impacted by 23rd and Swift development. My son's sick. I'm not going to be here to comment on all that, so I'll do it now. As we all know, our infrastructure sucks. It continues to prove it is in disrepair, and yet we continue making several million-dollar business deals literally on top of this problem. Why? My main questions tonight are, what steps has the city taken to examine the infrastructure at 23rd and Swift and the surrounding neighborhood prior to drafting this elaborate business deal with the developer? And also, what initiatives will the city take to assure homeowners that this development does not put them at risk for losing their properties in the event that there is an infrastructure crisis? We really need to address that. Homeowners are concerned, and nobody gives a damn about gentrification if their investments are at risk. And it's a huge liability going forward. And it's completely irresponsible. And unfortunately, you all have to answer to the decisions of other city staff in regards to this. And it's unfortunate, and it is your job, but somebody has to answer to it. And we need to address it, and we need to make sure that the homeowners are respected. And right now, they're not. Right now, the infrastructure has not been looked at. There's these plans to look at infrastructure, right? But the deals have already been made, and apparently it's going to be a huge issue to backtrack. It's going to be a huge cost to backtrack. You know? What are you doing for the homeowners that invested into North Kansas City? Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next public comment, please.
Angela Jensen, 2103 Clay Street. I have been a resident here, homeowner, for almost 18 years, and I'm here to talk about 23rd and Swift. I live on that street, and I know I've made some comments. I actually appreciated, Jesse, by the way, I appreciated your Facebook conversation. I thought that, it made me understand a lot more about what was going on. I am still concerned about the infrastructure in our neighborhood. It floods every time it rains. I'm concerned because our pipes are over 100 years old. What happens to my house when this brand new 294 unit complex comes in? Sewage, the water pipes, things like that. what are ramifications to my home? I want to know what the city's going to do for that. I know you guys have done a few things down there at that end of the block, but you haven't done anything for the rest of the block. There's homeowners there that have lived there as long as I have, if not longer. We're small, middle-class people. We are not the new people that are coming into this town. We can't afford to do a lot of renovations to our homes. Some people have been able to do that. Some of those homes have been bought and renovated. I was lucky enough to have a tree fall on my house and get renovated, but that's the only way I could have done that. I can't do the pipes if something like this happens because of a brand-new building. That's my biggest concern right now. The other concern, which I know some people have said is not going to happen, but could happen, I'm in the middle of a business area, and apartments are closing in on me. What is going to happen to the block and a half, maybe 2 blocks of homes, when you guys decide, not you, because it probably won't be you, when you want to sell that, when you want to build more apartments or more buildings? All the renderings of that apartment complex show high-rise buildings or buildings more than 1 story tall. And our homes are all 1 story except for mine. I have a 2-story house and that's it. Everybody else in that block is a bungalow. And a 4-story to 5-story building in the middle of that is not our neighborhood. It's not North Kansas City. It's not what we built or bought those homes for. I'm not in agreement with a building that size. City View, wasn't a big fan of it to begin with either, but it at least had some more green space involved. It had a better aesthetically pleasing visual, but to look down the end of my street and just see a big 4-story building is not why I bought here. And I've invested 18 years of my life into this town, and I would expect my council to take my opinions into their consideration and know that I am concerned for that. Know my concerns and think about those concerns for those people that live in that area. Most of us are blue-collar workers. We can't always make it to council meetings, or we have lots of kid events. It's hard to make it here, so that's why I'm going ahead and speaking tonight. And I wish you guys would consider the residents and their opinions in that area. Those areas actually affected and not just the ones in your areas that you live in. Thank you.
Thank you. Further public comments?
Aaron Hanson, 500 East 26th Avenue. Yeah, I'm not for 23rd and Swift. That's, yeah. I'm worried about my house. It's 2 blocks away. I'm worried about the people who live across the street from it with having this giant building in their front yard now. Other than that, I'm against it. Parking at the high school is still a giant pain in the ass. October 9th, 1962, the police department was supposed to work with the school to fix that issue. That didn't happen. Can I get parking, the parklet by my house so I can have free private parking like on Armour? Just a thought. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Further public comments? Seeing none, we are going to, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended? Yes, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended?
So moved. Second.
All in favor, please say yes.
Yes. Yes.
Opposed? No. All right, next up is item number 10.
Contract for demolition and removal of building structure at 200 East 16th Avenue, resolution number 21-082.
Thank you, and Councilmember Saber.
The reason I asked that this be pulled from the consent agenda is because I want people to reflect on how much it's going to, this is part of a process that will get done. It's too far along not to begin with. But I want people to realize that we'll be spending $160,000 roughly in this demolition. Then we'll be spending probably twice that amount in building a new parking area. And this is to support one of these new developments. And this is just direct public money going to support these businesses. It doesn't even include all the various TIF and everything else that goes on in supporting these various projects. And I just wanted people to be aware of this. And I didn't want this to sort of get buried in a consent agenda. There's no way not to do this at this point, and I will vote for it. But I just want the residents, the people, the voters to understand what we're doing and be aware of it.
Thank you. Councilmember Clevenger.
Yeah, this is something, obviously, that is a direct result of the 18th and Swift development. Losing that parking there, we're building on the parking lot that we previously had, and now getting public parking. You know, I do think that it is something that is extremely important. I know it's going to be spending some money, but having enough parking to support the businesses that are down here is extremely important, and, you know, free parking. So, you know, I know this is a cost, but this is something that I think will ultimately help our businesses and, you know, provide them the parking, and then the people that the apartments will be parking in the garage that they have there.
Further councilmember comment? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the resolution?
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Everyone all in favor, please say yes.
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 Opposed?
Yes.
No. Motion carries. Item number 11 has been pulled from the agenda. Item 12 is the opportunity for public comment, 23rd and Swift, Chapter 100 plan. And sorry, I stole your role there. Yep, so this is a good time for public comments related to 23rd and Swift, Chapter 100. The other items will be moved at a future meeting, and we'll do like normal and have public comments, so people will still be able to make public comments at that meeting as well. But we're going to go ahead and do the Chapter 100 public comments. So anyone with public comments related to the Chapter 100 plan for 23rd and Swift, please step up to the podium. Seeing none, I think we got them out of the way already there. Oh, there we go, one more. All right, go ahead.
Richard Cheech, 1002 East 24th Avenue. I do want to just go on the record, if this is the opportunity to do so, that I'm against it, and I don't think that we need it. And it does, to touch on what Dave said, it does ruin the character of this town. And we did move down here because we love it. We like the small town feel. We like the little community. I don't think we need a ton more residents. I'm fourth generation down here in North Kansas City. I don't want to see it change into that. We don't need to be just an extension of KCMO. We have the opportunity to preserve what we have. We have a lot of history here. And I think that we're just squandering it for really no reason. Not one that I've been presented with anyway. So I'll have more, but thank you.
Thank you. Further public comments on 23rd and Swift Chapter 100 plan? See, okay, I guess I had to open the public hearing technically. Or no, this one's different than the normal one. Okay,
This was just public
there we go.
comments. So now, item 14.
Thank you.
Ordinance calling for the April election, Bill number 7642, ordinance number 9439.
Kim, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'm going to call on the city clerk, Crystal Doss.
This is the ordinance that we have to pass every year so that we can have an election in April. And it states that the filing for the candidacy will begin this time on December 7th, which has moved up quite a bit, and it will close on December 28th of 2021.
Thank you, Councilmember. Comments?
First reading.
Second.
All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no.
An ordinance calling for a general election to be held on April 5th, 2022, for the purpose of electing one qualified council member from each of the 4 wards in the city of North Kansas City, Missouri.
I move that Bill number 7642 be placed on second and final reading and passes ordinance number 9439.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Palumbi?
Yes.
Councilmember Graves?
Yes.
Councilmember Saper? Yes. Councilmember Tull? Yes. Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Clevenger?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Roberts?
Yes.
Councilmember Clark?
Yes.
An ordinance calling for a general election to be held on April 5th, 2022, for the purpose of electing one qualified council member from each of the 4 wards in the city of North Kansas City, Missouri.
All right, and number 15 is discussion. You're done, right? Discussion of emergency order. There you go. I'm stealing them all here. No, so I asked for this to be placed on the agenda, just so we can have another discussion related to the mask order, because a lot of moving parts here, and rather than scheduling special meetings and keep doing these rounds. So, we continue to see improvements in cases and hospitalizations. We do, however, remain an area of substantial community spread per CDC guidelines. But with that said, KCMO's order is expected to expire this Thursday at 12:01. So I really just wanted to go over council a few of the options we do have and we could go with. One is just rescinding ours when KCMO expires, which we'd already talked about. Keep ours as is and reconsider it at our next meeting. Or we could even reduce the scope and just go to K through 5, which we're essentially keeping kids that haven't had an opportunity to get vaccinated yet a chance. I mean, a couple months while that process is still underway. So I will open it up to council discussion. Councilmember Toll.
I propose amending it to the K through 5, which would affect Briarcliff Elementary. But for clarification, it would be K through 5 while at school. So parents would have the choice to take them to public places or not, and business owners don't have to worry about what age the child is. So it would be a mask mandate for school children in school, grades K through 5. And in preparation for this, I have printed what the wording would change in the amendment. If anybody wants to see it, I can pass it out.
Just give everyone a copy so they can see. Okay. So in essence, what you're saying, when you strike.
It would be an amendment to Section 2.
When you strike Section 2, Section 2 is indoor places of accommodation. And that would make it effectively that businesses will no longer have to comply with a mask order.
That's like the YMCA.
And, yeah, so no other businesses. The only thing that mask orders would apply to, yes, kindergarten up to 5th grade, so Briarcliff at Norclay. Further, council member, give everyone a second to read that.
Was that a motion?
Further, council member comment. Was there a motion there? I guess I. Not yet. Okay.
I thought people might want to discuss it, but I can
Give a
make a
second to read.
motion. I
Yeah,
move.
Yeah, please.
I moved to change Section 2. Crystal, do you want me to read it out in its entirety?
I have it. Okay, I'm sorry. I know that. I have it here, so I don't think that unless.
I'll just read it for
public
everybody
wants
else
to
that
hear
doesn't
it.
have this. So the amendment to Section 2 would be schools. To ensure that schools may operate as safely as possible, public and private schools shall require face coverings or masks for all persons inside a school building where any students from kindergarten up to and including 5th grade are attending class unless eating or drinking. All persons must wear a mask when riding on the school bus unless documentation has been submitted to and approved by the school for a medical mask exemption. The following individuals are exempt from wearing face coverings or masks while inside school buildings. Persons with a medical condition, mental health condition, or disability that prevents wearing a mask covering or mask that, other than in the case of an emergency, have provided documentation of such condition or disability that has been approved by appropriate school officials pursuant to school guidelines. This includes persons with a medical condition for whom wearing a mask covering would obstruct breathing or otherwise unable to remove a face covering without assistance, as well as those who are unconscious or incapacitated. Persons communicating with a person who is deaf or hard of hearing, where the ability to see the mouth is essential for communication, and persons who are alone in a separate room or office.
Perfect. Thank you. Now, I've forgotten again. Was there a motion there?
I move to amend Section 2 to what I just read.
Second.
Yeah, okay. And let me ask Tom a question. If this passed tonight, would this be immediately effective? Would this be effective today, tonight, as of signing?
If they pass, if it's passed, it would go into effect when you sign the order.
Okay. We'll get that signed
Which
here
would probably
shortly.
be tomorrow, okay?
Okay. Don't strain Councilmember Clevenger out here too much.
No.
No, thank you. Okay.
Oh,
There's a motion on the floor. Further councilmember discussion. Okay, all those in favor? Do I need a roll call on this? Tom? It's just a motion, so I can just do a verbal voice. Okay, all those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Next item, please.
16.
Yes.
Approving accounts due and payable by the city through October 29th, 2021. Bill number 7643, ordinance number 9440.
First reading?
Second.
All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? No. Motion carries.
An ordinance authorizing payment for certain accounts due and payable by the city through October 29th, 2021.
I move that Bill number 7643 be placed on second and final reading and pass as ordinance number 9440.
Second?
Pull it up, please.
Councilmember Palumbi?
Yes.
Councilmember Graves?
Yes.
Councilmember Saper?
Yes.
Councilmember Tull?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Clevenger?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Roberts?
Yes.
Councilmember Clark?
Yes.
An ordinance authorizing payment for certain accounts due and payable by the city through October 29th, 2021.
Kim.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Within your packet, there are some upcoming city items of note. The North Kansas City COVID-19 update packet and the YMCA September financial report, as well as the YMCA Q3 financial report. We have a couple of department directors that would like to make a few comments, and then I will wrap it up. I'm first going to go to City Councilor Tom Barzee.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, you'll recall just a few weeks ago, you passed an ordinance amending our city code, and I'll call it the skateboard ordinance, okay? Our good police department, that ordinance, by the way, dealt with more than skateboards. It dealt with like roller skates, et cetera, right? Well, our good police department found a totally different chapter, had nothing to do directly with skateboards, but it has to deal with, says, coasters, roller skates, and similar devices. You can't do them on the streets. It's in direct conflict with what you passed, okay? Because yours included the other things. I just didn't want you to be shocked when you saw it back on the agenda again in a couple of weeks, so you'll know what it is. We will repeal this section out of the code, and so the only thing you will have was the one that you passed, I don't know, a couple of council meetings ago, I believe.
Are we going to leave coasters?
Anybody have any
Are we
questions?
going to leave coasters in there? Have we figured out what a coaster is?
Yeah, we never did figure out what the coaster was, but I'm sure it was fun.
Okay, well, if you ride coasters, let me know, because I'm not sure what that is. There we go. Any other questions? Okay, next up.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
I'd like to call on Chief Freeman and Public Works Director Anthony Sands.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. A few council meetings ago, concerned citizens brought forth some speeding concerns on 26th and 27th Avenue between Howell and Swift Street. I think Councilmember Graves at the time also added 23rd to that. So we've been working together, looking into that over the past several weeks, working through some technical glitches with some of our equipment, but we're almost to a good point of data consumption and trying to push that back out and let you know what we've kind of learned here. So what we did is, from the police department side, we placed our covert radar recorders on those three blocks, 23rd, 26th, and 27th at or around Fayette. And we studied them each for a week at a time. So we also, to get that is what we're trying to get out of that is we're trying to get the best time for enforcement of violations. To say that they're speeding on a particular street all the time, it's a racetrack, stuff like that, it's emotional, but it's generally not factual. And so what we try to do is get the facts and then address it from the facts. So included in that, so on 23rd Avenue, which has the highest amount of vehicles traveling between the three streets, taking a 7 mile an hour variance. So if someone's going 27 or above on a 20 mile an hour zone, is considered an enforceable violation. We kind of look at that as fair for a 20 mile an hour street. 28 and above is probably a good enforceable violation. Of the vehicles studied, 14% of those were considered to be speeding, okay? And then we can take that, and then we take that and we break this down into this cool little chart, which you can't really see real good, but it tells us by day of the week when the vehicles are speeding. So then we can do targeted enforcement during those time frames. So we're not setting a police car down there saying, go address speeding 2 o'clock in the morning when there's really nothing to address there. So we take that data and we use it. So extrapolating the data out just a little bit more, if you go to 30 and above, only 4% of the vehicles were speeding. 32 and above, 2%, and less than 1% were going 35 or over for 23rd Street. Taking that out to 26th, 10% of the vehicles were traveling 27 or above, 3% of the vehicles were traveling 30 or above, 1% 32, and less than 1% at 35. And then back to 27th, a lot smaller scale here because less vehicles travel on 27th. Speeds were slower for sure on 27th. 4% of the vehicles were traveling at 27, and then less than 1% at 30, and less than 1% at 32, and zero violations at 0% of the violations were at 35. The highest calculated speed on 27th was 42, 26th was 48, and 23rd was 53. So we think we have a speeding problem on 23rd Street, and this is the chart that will tell us when we can address that. Okay?
Can you send that to us at some point?
You wanna-
I mean, email or,
Absolutely,
yeah, something I can.
What
yeah.
we're working on is getting, because this is cluttered and it's hard to see.
Yeah.
So what we're getting, we'll get a document together that actually
Perfect.
breaks it down by day of the week.
Fantastic, thank you.
So then the question I think that was brought forward was, should we consider stop signs on these streets? And Anthony and I have been working together on some of that. A lot of things go into factoring out whether a stop sign is reasonable for any particular location. Speed is a consideration. Crash data is a consideration. Traffic volume is a consideration. So we went back and we analyzed crash data since 2016, so the last 5 years. There's 6 crashes in that general area in the last 5 years. Sorry. Yeah, that's correct. 6 crashes. 2 at 23rd and Fayette, 1 at 23rd and Erie, 1 at 23rd and Gentry, 1 at 26th and Fayette, 1 at 26th and Erie, and no crashes on 27th. So the crash data for us doesn't support the addition of a stop sign anywhere in these spots. The closest that we get, and I'll let Anthony talk a little bit more about some of that gating criteria for placement of stop signs, but the closest real number calculation that we get to is just volume. And 23rd has the volume that it gets closest to being able to justify a stop sign, but it doesn't get there. The number, I'll let Anthony talk about that. Go ahead.
Yeah, so Public Works looked at this from a couple angles as well. As Kevin said, the manual for uniform traffic control devices is kind of a good guide for looking at multi-way stops and just traffic control in general. And yeah, there's different warrants that say, if you see these certain things, that's a good time to consider multi-way stops. The data that Kevin was able to collect, we don't really come close to meeting any of these. One was volume. We thought maybe, but even on 23rd, that wasn't at the levels it would warrant a multi-way stop controlled for that intersection. Stop signs aren't, this is another thing that's been studied. The Institute of Transportation Engineers, MUTCD, put out reports. Stop signs are not ideal for controlling speed. Volume is one consideration, but again, we weren't close to those numbers. There's kind of other ways to kind of look at speed, which is enforcement. And so that data you got, it was really good for analyzing when would be good times for that. So going forward with that is a really good path.
So what we'd like to do is, just wanted to bring an update back to you, let you know that we didn't forget about it. We were working on it. We want to continue to work on it before we kind of seek like formal action on this. We would like to do some targeted enforcement on these streets. We don't have the immediate necessity for an action because of the crash data. It just doesn't exist there. It's not a public safety concern for us when you're talking about one crash a year in that general area. So what we'd like to do is do some enforcement and then come back to you again at a later date. I'm thinking 6 months, get through the winter season. People generally drive a little bit slower in the winter season, but do these studies again during that time frame to see how enforcement affected it or not. And if it had no effect and we still think the stop sign is most appropriate at 23rd and Fayette, we can do that. Some other things to consider for the 26th and 27th streets as well is leading up to those stop signs, you're going to have to eliminate parking because people have to be able to see those stop signs. So that's already a prime parking concern, as you've already heard about at least one time tonight as well. So those are, again, just wanted to let you know, a really long-winded staff comment there, but wanted to let you know that we didn't forget about you and we are working on it still.
Appreciate the update.
I'll answer any questions too on that.
Go ahead, Councilmember Seth.
What was the time frame on the checking the speeds?
I was thinking March, like 6 months.
Oh, no, like what?
Oh, time.
When you just did it, what was the?
Oh, a week. We studied each street for
This
one
past
full week.
This past week?
They were
or-
multiple different weeks.
Okay.
We had some, like I said, we had some equipment malfunction, so we placed them, we have 2 radar recorders, we placed them on 26 and 27. Went back to pull the data, realized one wasn't working, and we'd already moved the other one to 23rd. So it was reset here and there and stuff like that. And
They must
we
have
actually
cut me.
thought our traffic volumes were really high on 23rd, so we were concerned about where and how it was placed to make sure we weren't picking up other traffic.
Yeah.
But we re-spot checked it yesterday, and what do we have? 1,300 vehicles
Jeez.
traveling on 23rd Street in one 24-hour period.
Where,
That's a lot of kids getting dropped off at
Yeah.
high school in the morning.
yeah, whereabouts on 23rd were they?
I'm not going to give you away my
That's,
secrets.
yeah.
You gotta
Yeah.
walk the neighborhoods more. They're
Yeah.
there.
Around Fayette was the
Okay.
concern. So midway between Swift and.
Sure,
and-
okay.
Now everybody knows. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thanks, thank you, sir.
You probably mostly picked me up out running, but.
Yeah.
That was our fastest speed on 23rd.
Was it? That's what I assumed it was, but okay. Further comments? All right.
I have a few more.
Okay, I figured Anthony had more.
Oh, unless, Anthony, do you have more?
Okay. Okay.
I just wanted to give a few quick updates. The mural, as a city council, you guys adopted that, I believe at your last meeting, and the artist will actually be flying in tomorrow. And this mural will begin on Thursday morning on the XL2 building. So there will be a lane closure associated with that. There will be traffic control around, and we have pulled all of the permits necessary from MoDOT. The artist does believe that he will be able to get that mural done by November 15th. So, I think that this is pretty exciting stuff. This is something, one of the wonderful things about public art is people get to watch it as it is constructed. So as people commute in and out of North Kansas City, perhaps to go to work or wherever they are, they will see this mural at multiple different stages. And for me, that's kind of wonderful to bring art to the people.
Question on that? Can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
On the mural, is there a certain, at a certain temperature that he can't paint? Or, as far as we're getting into wintertime, for any delays if it gets cold?
He has built in some contingency on inclement weather.
Okay.
So, as you know, it's been raining a lot lately. So he has built into his time frame enough travel time to be able to accommodate should there be inclement weather for that particular day. And then just one more thing to put on your radar, at your next work session on November 16th, KCATA will be coming forward to discuss the future of the flex service. So just City Council, you may want to reach out to those who write it, some of the people who have maybe talked to you in the past, maybe review your own notes from the last time they came to visit. One of the things that we would like to do is talk about what your vision for that flex service is in 2022. So one of the hopes would be that there would come to a consensus during that particular work session. That way when the KCATA brings forward the contract for services for next year, it meets what you would like to see within it. So that is all that the staff has for you.
All right, thank you. Councilmember comments, Councilmember Palumbi.
First off, I want to say thank you to staff for putting together the maps and for everyone who came out and participated in providing feedback to everyone. Second, I wanted to thank Jesse for his work on the breakdown of 23rd and Swift, because I know that everybody appreciated that very thorough explanation and history behind it. And then lastly, I did want to thank Chief Freeman and Anthony Sands for providing that data in regards to those speeding concerns, because I know that that is an area that, is a safety concern for a lot of us. So I look forward to kind of seeing where we go with that. That's all I've got.
Thank you, Councilmember Graves.
I want to quick hit on 4 items here real quick. I'm going to try to run through them quickly. First of all, my life hack for this meeting is here at City Hall. They sell cheap lawn bags, like way cheaper than you can buy at Lowe's or Home Depot. If you're like me and your yard is covered in leaves, come down to City Hall. You can buy it. They're crazy cheap those brown lawn bags. Secondly, Lauren Wells, a resident, made a comment regarding the gentleman that she found outside wearing a hospital gown. And one possible solution I'd like to throw out there is possibly tying the NAC with the police department in that regard, and if they have somebody that's being released that needs clothing, perhaps partner, contact the NAC and get clothing. They're right next door. Number 3, thank you to Director Sands and Chief Freeman for the traffic report there. And believe me, I know all about it. I live there at Gentry and 23rd, and people think I'm insane because I tell people that people drive by at 50 miles per hour, and people think I'm crazy, but thank you for actually backing me up on that. And one of the residents, I talked to the people that live at that intersection, and because I like to get resident feedback, and I told them that we're looking at the traffic data. And a guy at Fayette and 23rd made a really interesting comment that I hadn't thought about. And the high school principal, Dr. White, has always told me that they're very proud of how quickly the high school disperses. Like when school lets out at 2:40, everyone just is gone. And the guy at 23rd and Fayette said, man, if you put a stop sign here, you're going to trap people, and I'm going to be stuck in my garage. And so he was actually concerned about, he didn't want a stop sign, so he didn't want to get stuck at his house, and it's nice having the students be able to disperse. So thank you for that data, and I agree with you guys. And also I want to throw out there, you know, we're talking about this 23rd and Swift apartment. 23rd, there is already a massive amount of traffic. This apartment is going to exacerbate that issue. And so that's another reason, another, you know, thing that I think people overlook regarding this apartment is how it's going to affect traffic in our area. And then 4th, Chief Freeman and I have talked about this a lot off record, and I have a dream. I've brought this up before. I want to cruise around Northtown in a golf cart, and I've done massive research. I'm actually not kidding. There are towns around us that have passed very intelligent laws that in my opinion are very responsible. So if you look at Lenexa, Parkville, and Riverside, for example, you can drive golf carts around those areas. They restrict the miles per hour on the street, so you can only drive them on 25 mile per hour or less areas. I would recommend that we allow them, like if you want to cross Armour and go to like the Iron District, that would be fine as long as you stay on a 25 mile per hour area. I don't think it would be appropriate to have people driving down Burlington on golf carts. And then furthermore, obviously not on sidewalks, not in pedestrian areas. We're not talking about the wheel park at Mackin Park and people walking and all of a sudden a golf cart runs them over. You can restrict them to where at night you can't be on the street unless you have lights. You can require blinkers if you want. Some municipalities even require them being registered, licensed, and insured, just like a car. And obviously, you can say you have to be 16, have a driver's license, so we don't have like 8-year-old kids driving down Burlington. And so this is something that I would like to see us discuss, put it as a discussion item, and move forward in a responsible manner, just like we did with the skateboarding code, and do this responsibly. They're actually already used around town. I'm not a snitch, I'm not going to name names, but there's already businesses, city people, there's people using golf carts, perhaps even schools using golf carts that are against the ordinance. So kind of like the skateboarding thing, it's already being done. So let's be responsible, go ahead and make it legal, establish restrictions, and do it in a responsible manner. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Saper.
I would like to give a big shout out and thank you to everybody who spoke from the audience tonight about the various issues we've got going on. They're very important. They can be very divisive, and there aren't sometimes any clear-cut answers to them. And I also want people to remember that any appeals to master plans, how we've done things in the past, all those things are guidelines, they're suggestions, they were snapshots in time. We can always change as the city changes and as the people change. Never be silenced by, oh, this was done before, this is according to a plan, this was an agreement that we thought of 20 years ago. Come forward and tell us how you feel now. Always come out and let us know, because I, for one, and those around me, we all listen. We may not agree, but we do listen and think about it. Thank you.
Councilmember Toll.
I want to say thank you to the Boy Scouts who led us in the pledge. That's always really special. I hope you guys can come back and do it again sometime. I I think we did have a lot of good discussion about redistricting, and it can be confrontational, but we're all one city and we'll be fine after this as well, regardless of which map we ended up with. I wanted the citizens to know that I hear you with your concerns about being priced out of your home. And that is something that we have to be intentional about going forward, as is including affordable units in some of our tax incentives that we have for big projects. It's already done on the projects that we've talked about, but going forward, that's something we could be very intentional about as a city. I wanted to say thank you to all of the excellent staff who are so responsive to citizens and council alike. Megan, who stayed late so we could get the very last minute postcards right before the discussion at 6. Chief Freeman for following up on 23rd, which was huge. It's good to know the numbers and not just a feeling. It helps us make decisions. I would also like to thank Sarah, who gave us the maps, drawings in the first place, just to have an idea, because there's no one right answer. There are lots of possible answers, so it was a good jumping off place to get started. And then the last thing is, I'm very excited for this mural, Kim, and thank you for all your work on it. I'm really looking forward to seeing that.
Thank you, Councilmember Smith.
Big thank you to North Kansas City Hospital. Treated my wife and me very well while we had our second daughter. She is now 3 weeks old and has been wonderful. Not a lot of sleep at the house, but you know. And then, addition to that, go Braves. That is all from me.
Councilmember Clover.
Okay, a couple of things tonight. I'd also like to thank the people that came out and spoke about the redistricting and staff for having this open house for people that do show up. I believe that was Councilmember Graves' idea to do that, so great idea. Glad to see people that came out and gave their opinion. Thank you for your public comments. I know some people made public comments during the regular council session as well. I just wanted to clarify on a couple of things that were stated that maybe are a bit ambiguous. One gentleman mentioned, Mr. Wood mentioned, that we don't have any affordable housing units in the projects coming along. And we do have the Gallery Lofts that's being built, and that has some affordable units in it. And I hope people are excited about the grocery store that's coming, and we'll give it a chance. I know it's not a Trader Joe's. Everybody wants a Trader Joe's. But let me just be totally and flat out blunt. They're not coming to North Kansas City. We've already tried. NT Realty's already tried to get them here. Not a big enough population. Not enough. They don't count the surrounding population. Just, we've been flat told no a couple of times. So, I mean, it's just a dream that's not going to happen. At least not right now. So I hope that when the grocery store is built, that you give it a chance. I know I'm going to. One other question for staff. This may be brought up when they come, KCAT comes. You know, the app that they were going to roll out for online booking and things like that. Have we heard anything on that, or is that going to be discussed when they come?
Actually, I got a briefing on that today. It is up and operational, and they are able to provide live time numbers as well as heat maps. The information that they're going to share with you in 2 weeks is pretty interesting. They can tell you exactly where people are coming and going. So you will be able to, previously a lot of your questions were, you know, you kind of knew drop-off points and you knew origins, but you didn't really know if those were the same people. So some of the information that they were able to share with me today was really awesome to see, because it was a lot more data-driven than what they were able to provide you before in the past. That particular app has been operational for 3 weeks now.
For 3 weeks. Okay, now are we going to be able to use that app for ordering the Flex service? Is that rolled out yet?
You can use it now.
What, how do we, well, I'll get some.
I can send that information out to you.
Send the information out to us if you could, please. Thank you. That's it.
Councilmember Roberts.
I got 5 things. I'll go super quick. First, at the beginning of our meeting, the CDC director approved vaccines for 5 to 11-year-olds, and they said that within 7 to 10 days, there will be 15 million doses available for kids. So that's great. That's what we've all been waiting on. That's a huge step. Second, I sent an email to the mayor this week, or I guess it had been late last week, about
starting conversation about warming centers and what we're going to do. It's starting to get cold really quick, so we need to start working on plans now when it's just on that cusp of getting cold. In the same sense, everybody should be doing things to prepare for winter at your house, checking your seals on your doors, your sweeps, insulating pipes, things of that nature. But right now, the leaves are falling. So it's time to clean your gutters, but here's a trick or a tip. All those beautiful leaves in your yard, it's tough to grow grass here in North Kansas City. We'll talk about that. But if you leave those leaves in there, that's a natural molt. It's great. And per the National Wildlife Federation, it's the preferred thing to do rather than bagging them up and sending them to a mysterious place that nobody knows where they go.
Oh.
Anthony Sands is like, I know exactly
He knows
where they
where
go.
they go.
But yeah, so this year, try leaving them on and maybe enjoying a better grass in the spring. And then finally, tomorrow, it's the best day of the year, everybody. You didn't know it was coming, but yes, it's National Sandwich Day tomorrow. So I'll be going to Shemeka's for some lunch. And you should find your sandwich of choice.
Fantastic. Councilmember Clark.
Oh, man, I'm so influenced all over the place now. Angela Genson, thanks for your comments tonight. I think what's coming forward a lot and what we try to think about with every project is what's underneath. Everything that gets approved, we're assuming the city is doing a due diligence to kind of go, let's be prepared with what we might uncover, tanks or whatever it might be, any fun surprises. But I think what might be helpful is there's a fear that's there that says like, I just want to know that I'm not going to suddenly be flooded out of my home and you guys just won't care about me because you're adding to the infrastructure. And I think like maybe we've put in money for the study to kind of take a glance at the whole city, for my assumption, right? And I think just maybe pushing forward on, another task for you, but just kind of stating the infrastructure sort of findings each meeting, just maybe having like our own little COVID update to deal with pipes, to kind of say, we've got 2 that are in some bad shape, just ICU level. We've got 2 on ventilators. No, that's not funny. But you know what I mean. A terrible analogy, but it's part of the times. Okay, the gavel. Right. All right. So yeah, just more like status updates on the infrastructure, just because I think that could offer a bit of like, okay, someone's checking under the lid. Looking under the hood before we like cover it up and pretend like nothing happened. We've all seen Poltergeist. We know the stuff's under the ground. So anyway, I digress. Halloween's over. I did that for Angela. I just wanted to make you laugh tonight. But no, and thank you for everybody for speaking once again, and of course staff for the preparation for these meetings, and that's it.
All right, hope everyone had a chance to get out and vote today. Thank you to the Boy Scouts for being here today. Some exciting stuff. And thank you for leading us in the pledge today. There we go. Crystal.
Item 20, consideration of a request to hold in recess into an executive session as requested by the interim city administrator to be held on this date on a collective bargaining matter pursuant to Missouri Revised Statute Section 610.0219.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Palumbi?
Yes.
Councilmember Graves?
Yes.
Councilmember Saper?
Yes.
Councilmember Toll?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Clevenger?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Roberts?
Yes.
Councilmember Clark?
Yes.
21, consideration of a request to hold in recess into an executive session as requested by the interim city administrator to be held on this date on a personnel matter pursuant to Missouri Revised Statute Section 610.0213.
So moved.
Did I hear
Second.
something? There we go. Call the roll, please. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Councilmember Palumbi?
Yes.
Councilmember Graves?
Yes.
Councilmember Saper?
Yes.
Councilmember Toll?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Clevenger?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Roberts?
Yes.
Councilmember Clark?
Yes.
All right, and to everyone watching at home, as the live feed cuts off, just so you're aware, there'll be no further public business or no votes taken after the feed cuts off. Thank you.